Rod, Tom Hitchcock, how are you doing?
I'm really good, thanks, Tom. Good to see you this morning.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. So, as per usual, you and I, we don't really know each other. I think we're connected on LinkedIn, and unfortunately with LinkedIn, that's where things seem to stay a lot of the time, unless you're getting pitched all the time. So I'm super excited to hear your story, or at least what you're happy to share with us anyway. So, Rod, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, I suppose I'm like a lot of people that ended up in the staffing industry by accident. I come from the IT industry, originally from Western Australia, travelled around to different cities in the country in Australia with the IT industry, formed my own business, which wasn't going to have anything to do with staffing. It was to do merger and acquisitions in the IT services space, which was my background. And a number of people I knew came and tapped on the door, and so we started doing a little bit in staffing. And then after a couple of years, dropped everything other than staffing, and have been working pretty well continuously in staffing and recruitment for it's 25, 26 years now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, as per usual, whenever I speak to someone, staffing recruitment, um, it finds us. We don't
Yeah.
find it, if you like. But tell us a bit more about the early days of your career. So, what was your area of expertise within IT?
Uh, I'm a failed technology specialist is probably the way I'd describe it. Honest enough to say that. So I, ca- I'm a farm boy from Western Australia. Came up to the big city, to finish my schooling and then go to university. And not knowing what to do, concentrated on sort of a maths oriented computing degree, and didn't. Well, I passed all that, but didn't really like it. So I shifted over to a business computing. But it happens that my first graduate job, they saw what I've been doing at university and put me in a very technical role as working with IBM mainframes as a systems programmer. And if anybody knows what that is, that's almost a white coat type job. And
Yeah, I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to interject there because I remember when I was doing IT recruitment in infrastructure, I got asked to find a mainframe sysprog.
yeah,
Okay. And with a particular type of experience as well. And if I remember correctly, there's literally four people in the country that could do it.
it's a fairly small group, and they tend to know each other well. But look, I was pretty average at that, to be honest. Kept talking to people, and and so on. So ended up shifting out into other areas of IT, and enjoyed being a project manager. Enjoyed the more business focused end of IT. And then I joined a startup company after about 5 or 6 years. And absolutely loved it. Got lots of opportunities in that. Worked in that company for 13 years. That took me out of Perth to Canberra to Sydney, and had great roles. Still got lifelong friends out of that process. But the company I was working for was acquired by a US company, and it didn't really fit with what I wanted to do, and I didn't really enjoy some of the things that were happening. So that's when I left and started up HHMC. So that was a fairly big decision, and it wasn't something that was a long-term plan or anything like that. And I sat on the beach for a few months trying to work out what to do. Do I go back and do another corporate role, or do I do something different? Yeah.
Okay. And before you sort of fell into recruitment, what was your perception of recruiters?
Um, well, I was responsible for growing some IT services teams during the late 90s. And if you remember Y2K and dot-com boom and so on, so there was just activity everywhere. And I was pretty, I probably didn't warm to the large companies that had a very impersonal process, but I really enjoyed the relationships I built with um, individuals in the staffing industry. So I had a pretty high regard. I don't tell anyone that. I'm usually saying that I was the grumpy boy on the other side of the table. But I mean, they had a tough job. There was a shortage. Prices were crazy, and everybody has a tough job in that sort of environment to deliver what the customer wants.
Okay. And so you seen two sides of the coin there, with your perception of recruiters before you ended up delving into it yourself. What were your main takeaways as to learning from those, if any?
Well, I've still never been a recruiter. So even though I've worked in the staffing industry for over 25 years, I've never been a recruiter. So I've never sat on the other side of the desk. I've never had to specifically deal with the problems that a recruiter has. And I actually don't think I'm all that suited to it. I'm more of a longer term business plan, work towards goals steadily type person. And I think the best recruiters are pretty short and sharp in terms of their focus, and they're doing things in a hell of a hurry. And I'm not sure what I would have been like as a recruiter, um, but I talk to a lot of business owners. I only talk to staffing recruitment company owners, and so I think I have a good understanding of the business of recruitment. But there's much better people out there that can talk about the function of recruitment.
Okay. And how do you think that industry's changed since you've been delving in it?
Oh, dramatically. It's really grown up, and maybe because it's recent memory, but I think some of the biggest changes have happened in the last 5 years. So COVID was, I think there were some great things to come out of COVID, even though we all went through a horrible period to get there. Um,
Mm.
I mean, if you want to talk about those, I mean, for example, I think business owners were very insular in Australia. I'm fortunate enough that I've had the chance to travel to a lot of conferences and a lot of activity in North America, in the UK, and also up into Asia. And so I used to come back to Australia with all these views about, oh, we could do this or we could do that, or this is happening and this change is coming. And so, and you didn't necessarily get a warm response to those sort of activities in Australia because um, things were pretty good, but it was a very insular environment. They weren't necessarily looking to change the way they did things. And most recruitment company owners were repeating what they'd learnt at their previous job. So if they'd worked for, well, I'll just say one of the internationals rather than naming names, that's the sort of culture and that's the sort of processes that they put into their organization. And as as the industry has grown and matured, and there's a lot more people in it now. It's bigger. It gets a bit more attention. I don't think that happens anymore. I think there's just brilliant businesses being developed all over the country, and they're not necessarily clones of where they learnt their trade.
That's good. So you're saying previously, with things being a bit insular, that maybe Australia was a little bit lagging compared to the US
Yeah,
markets and so forth.
yeah. Look, the trends were there 15 or 20 years ago, that what was going to happen with recruitment process outsourcing, what was going to happen with the MSPs, where there was going to be the large companies were going to take control of the human capital function and do it in a certain way, in a fairly procurement led way, and all those things were happening in other countries long before they happened in Australia. So nobody should be looking around and saying that those things were a surprise. And more, I mean, we're great on technology. I think we adapt technology really quickly. But in terms of process change or thinking about the way that a customer might want to work, I think we're pretty slow at that. I also think that we're very slow. I have a special passion for offshore outsourcing because I think that's a great thing when you're in a high cost, low, skill based environment, which is what Australia is. And so pre COVID, that was a pretty dead subject to talk about. Nobody wanted to talk about anything because it's, oh, everybody has to be in the office. This is the way we do things here and all that sort of stuff, wrapping their arms around their total staff. Again, post COVID, those things have changed.
So it's interesting. So I observe this. I'm from the UK originally, come here, and I noticed a lag. Things do change, and COVID enforced some of that here. So I also noticed that same point that you made as well. But I've seen it in other areas as well. I think there's a slight resistance to change, and one of the key ones I've noticed, which is a bit more transferable in sectors, okay, and across business,
Yeah.
is the sales models. Which, yeah, you with me? And obviously, we're not too sure where we're at the forefront sales models right now. There's a bit debated over where it was, but the last registered one was the challenger model. Before that was solution sales, and before that was relationship sales. And
Yeah.
that in Australia seems to just hold on tight. It's not letting go of that one. Okay,
Yeah.
is something you notice too?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can't take, I don't think, personal opinion, you can't take sales out and isolate it from everything else that's going on because the way a company uses technology and where it's geographically located and even the way the consultants work, 360 degrees as opposed to something else, all of that impacts how they're going to deal with clients, whether they're chasing large clients or small clients, those things. Um, but yeah, I don't, um, at the broadest level, I'm really happy that in Australia, we still value trust and relationships in whatever form you want to put that. We still value that, and so a lot of the things that might work in other countries, like the US, is a bit more wham bam. I'm not sure there's a better way to describe that, but they tend to be able to do things with a little less trust and relationship in the conversation. And even the UK, I think, is sometimes a bit more aggressive, maybe in terms of how things are done. Whereas in Australia, people tend to work with people that they know and trust, and that means that the style of business that is done is slightly different, and it takes people a little while to understand that when they come to Australia. And by
Absolutely.
by different, I mean, um, if there's not much trust, or there's not much relationship between the two people on opposite sides of the table, then I think they're doing things for their own benefit. Whereas if you know that you have to look after this person and I want a long-term relationship with the person, then you have a different approach to how the deal is done and how honest you are and how transparent you are and those sorts of things.
Yeah. And that's it. I think there's extra emphasis on that trust bit. You build that relationship up, you need that rapport, know the name of the kid, the dogs or whatever, and to
Yeah.
essentially prove you're not entirely self-serving,
Oh, and saying no, and doing all the honourable things about not just chasing the outcome, but actually trying to help the person solve a problem.
yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We're on the same page there, which is nice to hear.
Yeah,
Tell us a bit more about your business now.
yeah. So HHMC is, I still think, best known for its work in mergers and acquisitions. So we help buy companies and we help sell companies. We've had a wonderful time doing that for a good, for years. Um, Again, post COVID, there's less of that happening. There's very few international companies doing business in Australia. There's some activity, but not as much as there was. Um, and there's also a little bit of a hangover from fluctuating performance levels. So 2020 was down, 21, 22, 23 were up, and now we're down a bit, but we're not actually down. We're just back to normal. And so that makes when there's fluctuations like that, it makes a buyer and a seller agreeing on some outcome even more complex than normal. Um, but but the good thing is all of the other things we do are in high demand. Um, that sounds a bit self-centered. I didn't mean that. What I mean by that is that people are really interested in their business and about how they can improve their business. So there's a lot of shareholders that are putting energy into making sure that they are structurally organised and got shareholders agreements and are on the same page in terms of their business. There's a lot of work going into strategy, into understanding their valuation, what their business plan might be. A lot more people are getting external advice, and sometimes they use us, advisory boards and so on. So all great things, because that's, the industry's in a really good position at the moment and going well.
Okay. And what would you say your business USP is? What makes you stand out from others?
um, we genuinely focus on making sure that the business is better and that the owners of the business are making conscious decisions and understand the implications of the decisions they're making. And we only work on the function of the business itself. So we don't get into sales processes and performance and efficiency. There's some wonderful people in the industry who do all of that. We're really interested in the leaders of the business making very clear and conscious decisions about what they're trying to achieve and understanding the implications of those decisions. So there's no right or wrong strategy. I mean, one of the really nice things about the staffing industry, because it's low barriers to entry, there's very little regulation, despite everybody complaining about regulation. Um, you can basically do what you want to, and you can run the business in any manner you want to. And that allows people to make very customized decisions to suit their own needs, whether they're personal needs or shareholder needs or company needs or whatever it might be, sector needs, geography needs. And so any two businesses are really different, and that's okay. It's just they've got to understand the implication of the decisions they're making. And when we work with people to help them be very clear about that, we get a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah, and I could see why that would work for you. So thanks for that. Fast forward maybe 5 years. What's the future hold for you and the business?
Well, despite me uh, struggling to admit how old I am, I'm probably towards the end of my career rather than the beginning of my career. And look, yeah, I'm transitioning some of the things that we do to other people and really enjoying that. I'm doing more of the things that I really like and less of the things that I like less, and that's really good. And after many, many years of work, my wife is retired, so I'm looking for a bit more, not necessarily free time, but flexibility in the way I do things. Um, and so, yeah, in 5 years' time, if people still want me to help them, I'm sure I'm going to be around because I love it. But I'm not going to be doing some of the more complex parts of our business that we've been doing for the last 20 odd years.
Do you think that farm boy would come back out again?
um, I'm never going to be a farmer. I'm much too awake for that to happen. I mean, farming is a very complex and expensive business, and that's not going to happen. But I will spend more time out of the city. I love four-wheel driving, camping. I think Australia is a wonderful country, and I have my holidays here. And actually heading off next week on about a 3-week trip. So doing more of that. Yeah.
Love it. Oh, I think I'm officially jealous.
Well, I try not to tell too many people that because everybody's in a different situation, and yeah, you're not trying to sort of rub it in their face, are you?
No, it's all good. It just sounds like it's fully deserved, and things will keep continuing. Yeah, that's the whole point of building a business is you're building a machine to run without you. That's the whole premise behind it.
Yeah.
If you're doing everything yourself, then you've got a job.
Well, and also back to what we said at the beginning, attitudes have changed, and so if you're sitting on a rock somewhere in a desert and you've got your Starlink and you're actually talking to somebody and you're talking about the business, it's as long as it's planned and everything else, that's a reasonably accepted outcome. Whereas maybe 5 years ago that wasn't the case.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Anybody listening to your story, they would like to make contact with you, Rod, maybe about your business or any other sort of nugget they picked out from your story, how would you prefer them to reach out with you?
I'm way too generous. And I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but you can actually get onto my LinkedIn profile, and if you're reading about me, there's an opportunity to stick something in my diary at the bottom of that. So, but all my details are easy to find. I've been around long enough that I tend to pop up in all sorts of places. So, give me a call, send me an email, or put a meeting in the diary, and I'm happy to talk.
I appreciate that. You are too kind, and maybe share that calendar link. It's not calendar link, LinkedIn link in the comments below when we publish.
Yeah, I'll certainly do that.
Perfect. All right then. Well, thanks a lot for your time, Rod. I enjoyed that. Hello again. I am Mr. Purple. Thanks again for watching this video. If you like my videos, if you like what we try to do here, please subscribe if you haven't done it already. The other thing that's very popular right now is the t-shirts, the Mr. Purple t-shirts. There's lots of people wearing these at the moment. You can grab yours on our website, copying this link below. So once again, thanks for listening. We love your feedback. Engage with us and speak soon.